what time it is when you hear that music? That means we're live and it's Thursday and we've got one great show lined up for you tonight. So let's get into it. This is the Locker Room Show. If you're joining us for the very first time, I am your host, Coach Terrence Wood. The gentleman you see all the way to the far right is the one that holds me down every single Thursday, and that's none other than Q, the Guru. What's going on, Guru?
What's going on, Coach, man? We got a great show, an awesome guest. I got my popcorn, so we're going to go and break the huddle, man, get this going.
All right. So we're not going to waste any time, you guys. Whether you're watching us live, whether you're watching the recording, you are in the right spot. If you are an athlete, if you are a parent of an athlete, if you are a coach, this is the right spot to be. And tonight is a great night, you guys. You see who we have in the middle of the screen. It's none other than the great Tom Luginbill. This is someone that has a long history, you guys, of football in his blood, the son of Al Luginbill, great college and professional coach. This is someone that has played himself at a very high level as a quarterback, and then you guys probably know him from his days on ESPN with recruiting and sideline reporting, and just one of the top guys in the industry. So, Tom, thank you for joining us tonight.
No, you're welcome, guys. I just appreciate you having me, especially when you get the opportunity, when we're dealing with young people, parents, high school coaches. We're in the most, you could say, complicated space we've ever been in intercollegiate athletics, at least over the last 40 years. So it's great to be discussing these topics with you guys.
Perfect. So you guys, we're not going to waste your time. We know who you came to see, and we're going to get right into it. So if you're joining us for the very first time on the Locker Room Show, all of the topics are right there on the bottom. So you already know what we're going to cover, some of Tom's story, but also some fruit for you athletes out there to get after it. So let's get right into it. Once again, we have the great Tom Luginbill with us. You guys have seen him many times on college football on Saturdays, and the son of the great Al Luginbill. So I want to get into it, Tom. I mean, you came from a football family. You kind of born into this thing, born into the game. And I wanted to ask you, what are some of your recollections? What's it like to grow up in the household of a major college and professional football coach?
Well, I'll tell you, and I've always said this, and I will probably maintain this till my last breath. The privilege of growing up as a son of a coach is something that's very, very difficult to put into words, because you get to do things and be involved in things that most other kids would only dream of, right? And, you know, you're in the locker room at 5 years old. You're running around. I can remember being at Arizona State, and me and David Shaw, okay, his dad, Willie Shaw, was on the same staff with my dad at Arizona State. And me and David Shaw would be running around the field with Sparky, the mascot, at ASU. And then you run up and you get in the stands with your mom. And then, you know, all of those sorts of moments. I can remember, guys, being on the sideline in the 1983 Fiesta Bowl, Arizona State, Oklahoma. It was the game that ended Marcus Dupree's career. I don't know if you guys have seen that 30 for 30.
I remember
But what's so funny about it is I'm a kid and I'm on the sideline, and it's just this awesome atmosphere. And I look over, and there's Barry Switzer on the Oklahoma sideline smoking cigarettes while he's coaching the game.
Whole different day and age.
That's gangster right there.
Listen, I remember going to my dad's practices, and they would go out and practice, and they'd be in flip-flops and like old school like Spangen coaching shorts and no shirts on. Like they're just coaching ball out there, man. Just, you know, going, just like you see it now, you know. And so growing up and all of that, I have such fond memories because and I'll tell you this, and I think this is really true for any coach out there that has children, male or female, regardless of the sport. One of the reasons why I fell in love with this sport is because I was never forced to. It was never shoved down my throat. If I wanted to go play the clarinet, great. If I wanted to go play the violin, great. If I wanted to play soccer or I wanted to play tennis, fine. And the way my dad always approached it with me, and this was really around middle school when I actually started playing. And at that time, let's see, he had just gotten to San Diego State. So it was the early this was before Marshall Falk and Leroy Glover. They hadn't got there yet. They were still about a year away.
Got you.
And my dad would say, hey, we're going to training camp. I'm going to be staying down there in the dorms with all the players, and we're going to be down there for the whole month. If you want to come down and you want to stay and you want to go to the meetings and you want to throw in our individual drills with our guys, by all means, come on down. If instead you decide you want to go surfing, go surfing. But here it is, and if you're interested in it, and I think I gravitated towards it more because I never felt pressure to.
Mm-hmm.
And now
let me ask you this, Tom. Do you think that was just something rare and unique with your father, or do you think most coaches are like that? That you see today?
I would like to think most coaches are like that. Yet it's funny because just about every son of a coach was like me at some point. They all got into coaching. So I don't know, man. It's but I look back on it and I so agreed with that approach. And I say that because I now have a son who earned a scholarship to be a long snapper. And up until the age of 11, all he cared about was Legos and superheroes. He did not care about a thing to do with sports. And every single day, like, he could come into the studio with me and do studio television. I could take him on the weekends if I was broadcasting a game. He didn't have any interest in it. And you know what I did?
Wow.
I let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And I just let it take its course. And then all of a sudden, about 11, he's like, hey, Dad, some of my friends are going to play flag football. Do you think I could sign up for flag football? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let's try that. So then it kind of developed. And here I sit, and he's 2 months away from going to be enrolling in college and going to go be a college football player. And if you would have asked me that 7 years ago, I would have told you he was going to be a florist before I would have told you he was going to be a football player. So I would like to think that he came to that on his own, which I think is healthy and a good thing. And but no, I mean, like, I'll share one last thing with you too about those memories of growing up as a coach's kid. I used to bounce around because I knew at a pretty young age I wanted to get into coaching or scouting. I used to bounce around the different position meetings. And for 2 years there, when I was growing up, I would always find myself in the running backs room. Well,
interesting.
At that time, the running backs coach was Sean Payton, and the running back in the room was Marshall Falk.
Wow.
Smart man.
Yeah, you think about that. You're 14, 15 years old, 16 years old, and you're just kind of sitting there in that room. And I always tried to make the most of it. My dad would tell me that. He'd say, hey, listen, if you're going to go sit in there, just listen, watch, listen, all those sorts of things. And I would do that. And but it's those types of things that stick out, is the players you grew up around, the experiences you got to have, being a ball boy on the sideline, being there for all of these unbelievable matchups. And then I had the very, very, very good fortune of being able to coach with my dad on a couple of occasions. Later on in life, we ended up winning the 2001 XFL championship together. We were I worked with him in NFL Europe. And then, of course, in the Arena League, right before I got out and got into scouting, before I joined ESPN. Gosh, I can't believe it, almost 19 years ago now. So I've had a good run in this sport. It's been very good to me.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
That's the story.
I wanted to ask, because obviously your dad's special. I'm a West Coast kid, so and I love football. So I've seen many of the teams he was coaching or a part of. And thank you for sharing that. We've got some people joining us. The great Andy Pete, one of my former CU teammates. Great stuff here. We've got Devin coming in. This is the father of one of our before you go pro athletes. Thank you for joining us. Aloha, Coach.
Aloha.
We've got actually my mother-in-law saying, checking in. She's a football fan, hardcore, Denver Broncos fan. So thank you for checking in. So no, that was amazing. Definitely. We're on to our next topic, gentlemen, and excited to talk about this as well, because once again, you're a football guy. We're not just talking, you guys, to somebody who's just an analyst or a recruiting expert. We're talking to somebody that's laced it up. You see right here, he played at Georgia Tech. And I wanted to ask you, Tom, because, you've been in many facets of this game, a player, a coach, an analyst in the media. When did you really realize how important relationships were in football?
When I was getting recruited out of junior college, and I say that because you start to establish all of these relationships with these coaches, right? And in these overtures and these conversations. And at that time, it was either in person or on the phone or handwritten letters and things of that nature. And I'll never forget my dad telling me near the end of my recruitment coming out of junior college, he goes, "The hardest thing about this, Tommy, is you can only say yes to one person. You can't say yes to them all, which means you're going to have some hard conversations with people. And I'll tell you what you're going to do, whether you like it or not. You're going to call each and every one of those individual coaches. You're going to tell them that you've made your decision, that you're going to thank them for spending the time and donating taking the time to invest in their recruitment of me. But this is what I've chosen to do." And I bring that up because now more than ever before, with the transfer portal being what it is, with name, image, and likeness, do not burn a bridge in any type of relationship formed in this game, because you don't know when that person's going to come around again.
Thanks.
You don't know when that person maybe wouldn't want to talk to you again because of how you conducted yourself previously. And I thought that was really important. I was a 19-year-old kid, and I'm on top of the world, man. We had just won the junior college national championship. It's actually kind of ironic because my dad got fired 1 week before the game, so he got to come to the game, and it was literally the only game he got to see me play in the whole entire year, which was kind of special. So I'm riding high. Now the recruitment side's starting to come to an end. He's like, "All right, here's the hard part." And I'm so glad. I'm very, very glad that I did that. I even look back. It just so happens I was broadcasting a game at Northwestern. I want to say this is before the pandemic, 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And they were honoring the 1995 Northwest, I think it was 95 or 94.
Yeah, 94.
Northwestern
Darnell
Rose Bowl
Autry
team.
and those guys, yeah.
Correct, yeah. And that team came back and they honored him at halftime, and Coach Barnett was there.
Right.
And I made it a point because I went up to him and he recognized me and we kind of started talking. And I told him, I said, and I won't mention who this other coach was, but there was one other coach that I had to call. And let's just say that coach's response was not overly kind. Okay.
Yeah.
And
especially for a quarterback.
Right. And so when I called Coach Barnett, he was so classy in relationship to how he responded to me telling him no. And we talked about that.
Wow.
Almost over 25 years later.
Wow.
And it's just how you conduct yourself, the decisions that you make, and having the thought to have a wider, I guess, lens, to take a step back. It's almost like thinking twice before you post something on the internet, right? Because it lives there forever.
Right.
Sometimes you got to take a step back and say, okay, how I respond here, how I conduct myself, what type of impact could it have? Not just right now, but 5 years, 10 years. And I know a lot of young people don't think that way, but I think relationships of developing trust through communication, through honesty. And listen, sometimes honest conversations aren't easy to have, right? Especially in recruiting and some of those circles. But they will end up benefiting you down the road, because when somebody has a positive interaction with you, they will remember that at some point.
That's big right there. And I mean, those coaches don't forget, you guys. They do not forget. No. Trust me. Q, how about for you? Did you leave St. Louis and go to KU having drilled in your head that you better maintain your relationships, or did you find that out from someone else or the hard way?
I mean, man, my father was a U.S. Marine Corps recruiter for 10 years. So I knew going in. So I was a little bit different creature.
Yeah.
That got pounded in my head like a
Yeah,
long
man.
way before college. But I mean, what a lot of kids need to understand too is if you're one of those athletes that you do have talent. Not everyone, going to even the next level in the professional ranks, and kids, it's so, I mean, obviously it's so many spots in regards to being drafted, but I've seen time and time again where you see coaches that'll go up to the next level. They'll remember you and they'll be the ones that'll give you an opportunity on the next level.
Good
I remember Tim Burke. He actually was the other DB coach at Purdue, and Coach Rod Woodson at Purdue ended up at Kansas. Next thing I know, I had an opportunity with him because he was the D coordinator up in Calgary. But that's the way it works. You could never ever burn a bridge because exactly like you said, you never know when somebody will land.
You don't know.
They'll remember those conversations, and it can hurt you, or it can it can hurt you. It can hurt you or help you. It can go either way.
And it's usually, you guys, when you need it the most. It's going to hurt you or help you when you need it the most. So we are on to our next topic, and very excited to bring this up, Tom, because obviously the recruiting side is so huge for you. I mean, you've been ingrained, scout.com, you've been ESPNU. I mean, you are the go-to for a lot of recruiting advice and knowledge right now. So I want to ask you, because things are crazy with recruiting right now. For you, when do kids pop up on your radar and you start to take them seriously? Is it 8th grade, freshman year? When do you really start to really take a good look?
We start really identifying them 8th grade into 9th grade. If you would have asked me this question 15 years ago, I would have told you that's insane. I would have said, no way. We've got our hands full with the current class. We might start working on identifying the next class, right? And that's it. Now, we produce rankings for ESPN, ESPN.com for 2 classes at a time. We've got our ESPN 300 and our ESPN Junior 300.
Right.
But I also spend a lot of my time with our scouting service, the Underclassmen Report, where what we're doing is actively going out and identifying the younger player, and then to start to track that player through camp and combine circuits where we can test and create a library of information as they go from 13 to 14 to 15 to 16 years old. I don't know if you've seen some of the things I've been posting on social media recently. I call them Scouts Takes. And if you notice, they're not on 2025 class guys. They're on 2028 class guys and 2027 class guys.
That's insane.
What makes this so challenging, though?
And they're freaky, Q.
Some of them are different, right? But they're small percentage. At that level, to be 14 years old, if you're a guy that stands out and you look like a high school junior, you're in a very, very high percentage. So we don't see a ton of that, particularly at quarterback. You'll see it with skill guys. We'll see it with corners and safeties and wideouts and running backs. But I think the thing that you've got to acknowledge with the sport of football, guys, is that it's not like any other sport on this planet, meaning this. It's the only sport that you cannot play in the off season. It can't be duplicated. So if I'm playing basketball with my high school team in the winter and I go play basketball with an AAU team in the summer, I'm still playing basketball.
These are facts. Yeah.
Right. Tennis, golf, baseball, softball, all of it.
You name it. Yeah.
Football in the fall and I'm going to a camp and combine in shirts and shorts in the spring or summer, that's not the same sport.
Yeah.
So for the one thing you've got to realize is it's also a violent, collision-based, contact-based sport.
Thanks. Absolutely.
13-year-olds and 14-year-olds are generally not meant to be playing with 17-year-olds. Okay?
Right.
But that happens. You can have your rare instances. It will happen. So we start to identify guys at that young age, but we really try to avoid making proclamations or concrete statements because there are so many variables we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't know if this guy's all of a sudden going to grow 7 inches in 3 years.
Right.
We
Yeah.
don't know. We don't know how mature he is. We don't know anything about his background. Is he a single parent home? Is he a 2-parent home? Where did he come from? What are his resources? Where will he be going to high school? Is that a successful program? So everything we try to do, especially with the earlier player in player evaluation, is make a projection. And I tell our guys all the time when you're writing reports, don't use the word won't, don't use the word can't. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you think that there's a deficiency or weakness, say may struggle to do this at this time, may not have this type of skill set.
Yeah.
Because you actually don't know that. Now, if he's 28 years old, I can say that.
Right.
I can go ride an eval on a professional football player who's 28, and I'm telling you, what you see is what you get.
Right.
And so with these younger guys, it's anything but that. And there's just so many things going on with them in their lives, and with the internet now, the exposure, the overexposure, the attaboys, the pats on the back. Depending on what your support structure is, do you have good people with your best interests at heart? Do you have the right people behind you supporting you? Do you have people behind you that all they're looking for is dollar signs? Are you I tell parents and kids all the time, you are who you hang out with.
Thanks.
You
100%.
are who you hang out with.
100%.
And you know what? They can't frame you if you ain't in the picture. So you may not be doing anything wrong.
I like that one.
You may not be doing anything wrong, but if you're hanging with that group, so all of these things as kids go through 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, we're sitting here talking about high school football recruiting, but those are factors that matter. Those are things that are being investigated. What you put, I tell kids all the time, what you put on the internet, you own for life. You may think you deleted it. You didn't delete it. Somebody got a screenshot. It is there forever. And now your family name, your community, your high school, your teammates, your parents, your siblings, all right? Think before you do something, because the internet can be your best friend when it comes to recruiting, can also be your worst enemy and prevent you from getting recruited if you don't know how to conduct yourself properly on it.
Right.
Wow.
Now, one thing, guys, I wanted to touch on, kind of going back what you were mentioning in regards to your son and not forcing him on that road of being a football player from an extremely young age and recruiting is, do you see a lot where you have like these 4 and 5-star kids that are ranked that high and they've had so much pressure on them for so long? By the time that they do get in the college ranks, they're burnt out or they just don't quite pan out the way that they were expected to be because they were maybe the opposite of how your son was being raised.
Yeah.
And it's kind of let them flow off into the game. But they were just, 8 or 9 years old. It's just season 7-on-7 training. And it's just around the clock. Do you see that a lot with the, like I said, with these 4 and 5-star ranked kids?
It's a really, really good question, and it's probably a fairly complex answer. I would say from the burnout side of it, I think that comes more from having started playing tackle football way too early.
Okay.
Hey, there's my son right there. That's
Nice.
Roy Kidd, who just passed away at the age of 91, legendary football coach at Eastern Kentucky. I think he ended up with 311 wins. I think that's 10th or 11th all time, regardless of division.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so I think that kids can get burnt out from the sport just by playing it for too long and things of that nature. What I've seen happen more than anything else is because of the internet and because of everybody telling them how good they are and heaping praise upon them and continually patting them on the back and telling them they're the greatest things since sliced bread. It's very easy for young people to get caught up in that, right? It's very easy for them to believe the hype, right?
Right.
The more you believe the hype, that just naturally, human nature will tell you that leads to complacency. That also leads to you having this mindset that all of a sudden it's going to be easy, right? So when I see kids not pan out or maybe not meet expectations or aren't the player that they were expected to be, 99% of the time it has nothing to do with physical ability. It's always something else. These kids are all talented. If I took a video this coming weekend in Houston of these 16 and 17-year-old defensive linemen, you would think I was showing you 23-year-olds.
Oh my God.
Wow.
They're so
320,
advanced.
330. Just
Yeah, 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", long arms. I mean, the whole 9 yards. But what happens is, and this is something that I preach about, and I really do, is the high profile athlete, any athlete for that matter, but the 4- and 5-star guy that you're referencing, that player has to know, they have to be convinced, and they have to be very honest with themselves that what they are embarking on is going to be harder, not easier. Because they go into it thinking the exact opposite. And here's what ends up happening. Once a high-profile 4- or 5-star player arrives on campus with 85 other guys, guess what? Those 85 other guys were all him.
facts.
If he's at a place at Alabama or Ohio State, whatever, every one of those guys was him, okay? So now all of a sudden, it doesn't matter that you were a 4-star or you were a 5-star. What are you capable of doing? And are you willing to do what it takes to be what everybody's expecting you to be? And is there pressure involved in that? Absolutely there is. But you know what? There's pressure involved in sports. It's the nature of the beast, regardless of the sport. What I have found, and this to me is become a problem in my opinion. There's a lot of people that don't like it when I say this. They say I'm full of crap and you're being too harsh and things of that nature.
It's the locker room, Tom. Give it to us. Give it to us.
The vast majority of the players that enter into the transfer portal have not even been on campus for 18 months.
Wow.
And the moment something gets hard, the moment something doesn't go their way, what is human nature going to do? Their first inclination is to pick up their ball and I'm
Green and
going
pasture.
home. And it's everybody else's fault, right? It's the coach's fault. It's the counselor's fault. It's never their fault, right? Now, the problem is, I understand if you've been somewhere and you've been battling and you are competing and you're fighting and scrapping and you've been through a couple of position battles and now all of a sudden your clock's running out, right? And you want to play, but you've given it a hell of a shot. You fought and you battled and you're not fitting there. It's not, by all means, go find a place, right? Yeah. But what we have here is we have kids that have been so conditioned to think that they're special and that things are going to be handed to them that when it gets hard, they don't want to compete for it. They don't want to battle for it.
They think they're wrong. The other side is wrong.
Everybody else is screwing up. Yeah. The coach is screwing me. That guy's mean. That guy wasn't fair to me. The whole 9 yards, you have to have a level of maturity and I think mental toughness, more so now than ever before, as a competing true freshman coming into college. Because, and this is why I say it rarely has anything to do with talent. Everything we've just talked about for the last 5 minutes, I haven't mentioned one height, weight, speed, arm length, skill set, nothing, right? Yeah. They all have that. They're all talented. Mm-hmm. You know, the number one thing that gets guys in trouble in college, aside from making poor decisions off the field, that's an obvious one, a lack of time management. They cannot manage their time. If I were to impart one thing on every young person, if you ain't early, you're late. Period. I don't want to hear what the excuse is. I don't want to hear about the 4 alarm clocks. If you're not early, you are late, because here's what's going to happen. When you arrive on campus, you are going to be put on such a strict schedule. And you guys know this. You did it, right? And we got to be up at
6 a.m.
Yeah, we got to be in the weight room at 5:30 for winter conditions. Yep. We got to be out of that weight room. We got to go to breakfast. We go from breakfast, we go to class. We come back from class, we go to treatment. Then we go to lunch. We go back to class. We come back from class. We go to position meetings. Then we go to a team meeting. Then we go out to practice. Then we come off the practice field. We go to meetings again. Then we go to dinner. Then we go to study hall. And then maybe We get back to the dorm room and it's about 11 o'clock. And oh, by the way, you're going to do that every
Again.
single day.
Right.
And what happens is guys start
Right.
wandering into the meeting late, right? They start wandering into treatment late. And if you can't manage your time, there ain't no way you're making it.
Yeah.
So you have to be disciplined enough to be where you're supposed to be when you are supposed to be there. Then, if you can condition yourself to have that type of discipline, you're going to be able to tackle everything easily. You won't miss an assignment, right? A school assignment, because you will have been to study hall on time working on it, right?
Yeah.
You won't miss an assignment on the practice field because you were 5 minutes late to your meeting because you were at your meeting on time, all right? You won't be behind on the bench press with your peers because you missed 3 weight workouts. Because you're a time management guy, you'll be there on time. And so those are things that get people in trouble. And then what happens? Frustration sets in, and the coach gets frustrated. Because here's the most important thing I could probably tell you when you arrive on campus. You are going to go through a de-recruitment phase. And that coach, that coach that treated you like you were Louis Vuitton, you were gold, you were crypto, you were the greatest thing since pocket t-shirts. You're gonna be laying on the ground, holding your leg up, stretching your hamstring at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's 37 degrees out, and that coach is gonna be on your ass, and you're gonna go,
yeah. It's no way that's the same dude, right?
Well, this guy's not treating me right. This guy, get ready. It's coming.
Call him mama.
Yeah.
It's coming.
And the funny part about it is, we were talking about this because it was, and people that have not lived our lives, right? They just will never understand if you haven't undergone that. So that's why I remember during the season, Coach Prime caught all that flack with Cormani McClain, right? And they couldn't understand, well, where's Cormani? He's the number 1 DB in the country. Why isn't he playing? And
doesn't matter.
And it was everything you just said. It was everything you just said. We're talking about top number 1 DB in the country, and everyone's scratching their head, but that's exactly why. He had to humble the kid.
He had to, and the kid had to understand that we do things a certain way here, and you're not going to be treated any different. And there's an expectation and a standard that we set. And the problem is, I think sometimes with today's kids, more so than ever before, they have a hard time with hard coaching, right? I tell kids all the time, if a program that's recruiting you is saying we need you to come to camp, and we want you to come to camp so that we can further evaluate you, do not balk at that overture. Because the moment you do, they're going to say, you don't want to come compete? We're trying to further the evaluation, get you with our coaches, get you in our building, get you in our drills. We want to see what you want to do. Yeah. And don't ever say this, well, why would I come to your camp? You haven't offered me yet. And trust me, I've seen kids say it. Okay? And you're sitting there shaking your head, you gotta be kidding me. So the whole purpose of them wanting you to go to their camp is they want to see how you interact with your peers. They want to see, can you learn? They want to see, can you handle getting coached hard? Yeah. What if you're going through a drill and you're loafing and coach rips your ass? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right. So, those types of things I think are different more so now than ever before. It used to be the coach said, hey, go over there right there and paint that tree with a red dot. You didn't ask why. You just ran over there and did it.
Facts.
Right.
Facts.
So, and I understand that the times are different there. I'm not necessarily the get off my lawn guy, but there has to be a healthy coach to player relationship of authority, all right, and respect that individual is there trying to get you better. They want you to be better. You ever heard that phrase, well, if coach isn't on you hard, he doesn't care about you.
They don't care, yeah.
And it's true.
It's real.
Very,
football.
Very true. Yeah. And especially in football. And so, a lot of lessons I think can still be carried over, even though the athlete and the coaches and all of us have changed and the landscape and everything has changed. There are still some things, and I'm sure you heard Nick Saban's comments on Capitol Hill this week. First of all, let's make something very, very clear. Not one time has Nick Saban said he's anti-NIL. Not one time. And
hold that one because we're about to get into that.
Okay, good.
We'll
definitely see the ticker along the bottom.
There you go.
We'll definitely touch on that for sure.
I'll stay back.
Hold your bullets. Hold your bullets. And I see the great Jimmy Rucker coming in. He says content like this is why I love this show. So there you go. He says, yes, I'm going to get off my lawn.
Right.
We've got the great coach Eric Foss saying awesome rundown, you guys. So thank you for that content right there, Tom. And we are going to get to that. So hold that bullet. But we're on to our next topic, you guys. And that is, and we'll start with you, Q. College football would be better if. Is it if, the NIL was figured out? Is it if the transfer portal was figured out? Is it if the playoff situation? Is it something I'm not bringing up? In the guru's mind, college football would be better if.
That's a good question, Coach. A few things. I mean, I would say one, in regards to the portal, the amount of transfers need to be tighter restraints, and it needs to be a limitation on how many times you can transfer. As it was said before, as you were mentioning, hey, if it's a situation where the kid, has really been in there fighting and scrapping, and it's just legitimately not a good fit, okay, fine, so be it. But hey, I was Gatorade Player of the Year in my particular state, 5-star recruit, and because I'm not starting as a true freshman right off the bat, I want to leave and transfer.
Yep.
That needs to be a hard no, not a we'll review it and get back to you. That needs to be a hard no. So it needs to be some tighter parameters on that. I do feel like as far as the playoffs, I'm a bit biased, I guess, in regards to conferences. I know, T, we've had this conversation. My concern is in regards to the playoffs, how generous are they going to be in regards to the SEC? I do understand, that's as far as conferences, it is highly competitive. I feel like that the Big Ten and the Big 12 are as well. Maybe there's some consider, maybe not to that extent, but it's like if we keep seeing year in and year out, if there's 14 teams and hell, 8 of them are from the SEC, then we need to pivot. So it's one of those things where I'm interested to see how that's going to pan out, and how many teams, respectively from all conferences, is it that, each conference champ is guaranteed? However they do it, though, we need to make sure that we don't get a great team ousted like Florida State had to undergo. My heart really went out to those kids, man. So we need to make sure that never happens again, however it plays out.
There you go. Talk to me, Tom. You're deep into the college football world.
Oh man.
So you see all the elements. In your mind, college football would be better if what?
Well, the first thing that gets glossed over that comes to mind, I know we have these hot debates about name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal and the recruiting calendar. Should we go back to one signing day or, now we're moving the signing day up, which I think is actually a wise thing. But I'll tell you the number one thing that's got to get addressed, and it better get addressed in a hurry, is the tampering problem we have in college football right now. Because that has a direct tie to not just the transfer portal, but to name, image, and likeness. And think about it in NFL terms. Do you know what the friggin' penalties are if you tamper with another team's player under contract?
Yeah.
I mean, that is
severe.
Serious.
Severe.
Right?
Yeah.
We have to come up with policing and enforcement and a penalty that would be so severe in college football or college athletics, whatever the sport, that you wouldn't even let the thought into your mind that you would tamper with another player. That's where we need to start the fix. Okay. Secondly, I'll move to the transfer portal. We do not need a 30-day transfer portal in December. And I'll tell you why. Twofold. One is part of the tampering problem. If you've been tampered with and you go into the portal, you already know where you're going. You're gone the next day.
Right.
If you haven't been tampered with and you go into the portal, if your phone ain't ringing in 72 hours, you're going to know what your market value is. We don't need to be letting these players float in there for 30 days. So when they move the signing period up to that Wednesday before championship weekend, which I love, okay, you get that done. Then if the portal is going to start that Monday after championship weekend, which it does, it should be 7 to 10 days max. Because what we've got to do is we've got to allow bowl participating programs and college football playoff participating programs to prepare to their best ability without the portal and without signing day blending together. Like if you look at this past cycle,
it was bad.
The last 2 cycles.
Yeah.
I was doing a bowl game 3 days on a Monday night, 3 days before National Signing Day. And the coaches for both of the teams, half of the coaches had to stay back in their respective cities. They and their families had to miss out on the bowl festivities because they're hosting official visits and they're playing a bowl game 2 days later.
That's insane.
So if we remove all of that and we clean up that part of it, get that stuff all locked up and stowed away, then we can just get to playing football and finish out the deal. So I think that's important. I will say one other thing too that I think is the probably most important big picture thing. College football would be better if we had some form of governance at a commissioner-like level that involved actual football coaches and football administrators that are helping to make and shape policy and the decisions because they're living it every day. Like we're constantly hearing about the Big Ten and the SEC, they're having these meetings, and the Big 12 is having these meetings. Guess who's not in those meetings? The coaches.
Yeah.
The coaches have no say in
point.
all of this stuff that we're talking about. That's insanity. So if we're going to move away from the NCAA model, if Congress isn't going to fix this thing, if we're going to eventually get to players being signed as employees, which I think we're going to, I think that's eventually where we're going to go because it's only going to keep everybody out of court. We got to do it with some governance that involves individuals that are living this life day to day so they can detail the pitfalls and what the problems are so you can get it all cleared up.
That's a good point, which makes perfect sense because regardless, the football, basketball, great. No, all love to the hoopers out there, but your football program is the engine of these universities financially.
Oh, yeah.
You can say what you want, right?
They're your revenue generating sport.
100% of the whole university, so I can totally agree with that. That's a good point. That's a great point.
The great Jimmy Rucker says, if you're caught, if Jimmy was the commissioner, he says, if you're caught, you lose 10 scholarships. You lose 10 scholarships.
Absolutely.
That's steep.
Or say you lose 10 a year for 2 years. Woo. And then you take that coach who was involved and you put him on a 5-year show cause and he can't be hired in college athletics. That's what you make the penalty so severe you wouldn't even sniff it. You have to. It's the only way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because right now there's no policing. It's the wild, wild west out there.
Yeah, literally.
Crazy. All right, you guys. Well, hey, you're getting some amazing content. If you are just joining us, welcome to the Locker Room Show. I'm your host, Coach Terrence Wood. You got Q, the guru, and then, of course, you know who we got in the middle. That's the great Tom Luginbill. This is a former player, you guys. This is a son of a college coach and pro coach and legend. This is someone who coached himself. He's been on so many elements of the game. Now he's an analyst. He's in college football, recruiting very deep. So you guys are in for a lucky treat. We got him for a few more minutes. If you have any comments, our chat line is open, so feel free to put in your comments and your questions. So we're on to, and we've already started talking about this, but NIL, and we know that the great Nick Saban has decided to retire, and he's got some strong feelings on NIL, and I do have a clip here for us to get into.
Said to me, we'd have all the recruits over on Sunday with their parents for breakfast, and she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this? So, to me, that was sort of a red alert that we really are.
So right there, we have Coach's comments, and pretty straightforward. His wife Terry was saying, "Why are we wasting our time?" So I'll go to you, Tom, and then I'm gonna come to you, Q. We just talked market value. Now, some of these kids really do have market value.
Yeah, it's a few.
As a parent, should I bring up the NIL conversation? Should I? I've got a 4 or 5 star kid. Should I wait for the coach to bring it up? You're a father, Tom. If your son was a 4 or 5 star quarterback, how would you play NIL as a parent?
Well, first of all, name, image, and likeness was never intended to be applied to the high school ranks, ever. Now, maybe for a high school player in his own individual, county or city or state, and he had the opportunity to earn, that's one thing. I'm talking about being utilized as a recruiting inducement. Okay. This was name, image, and likeness was solely created so that a current collegiate student athlete could potentially have the opportunity, if they created value, to be able to earn off of their name, image, and likeness. Guys, I haven't met one coach. I have not talked to one coach that is against that. Not one. They get it. They realize that the players are way overdue for getting compensated, including Nick Saban. They understand that it's time that the players get a piece of the pie. They understand that it's happening whether they like it or not. The problem that coaches have right now with this is there is no structure. There are no guidelines. There is no blueprint. There's no policing. There's no governance. There's no penalizing, right? So we've taken arguably the most transformative legislation of the last 40 years, dumped it on the laps of all of these programs, and said, hey, here, you guys deal with it.
Right.
Well, guess what? If I'm Alabama and I'm Georgia and I'm SC and I'm Ohio State and I'm Michigan and maybe a handful of other programs, I can live in that world because I've got the resources to not only live, but thrive and survive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if I'm Baylor, how am I supposed to compete with Texas? Right. So creating name, image, and likeness, and I'm going to get to your actual core question in terms of how the player should approach it. The coaches don't have an issue. Don't be afraid that the coaches are bent out of shape about name, image, and likeness. They want structure. They want rules for both sides, for the school and the institution, and for the student athlete, and for the player. It can't be an all or none proposition. And it cannot be a pay-for-play proposition, which is exactly what it is now, all right? And what Nick Saban's saying on Congress, and this is what I have said in my last several conversations with people about this over the last couple of days since he went to Capitol Hill, is that he's arguing we can have both, right? We can develop young people. We can get them better in the classroom. We can make them better people. We can create opportunities for them, right? And then when the time comes and they start to produce and they start to provide value, and all of a sudden there are people that want to go into business with them, then by all means, let's do it for everybody that is in that position. But that's not what we have right here. What we have now is, what are you going to pay me? And the coach's natural inclination is, you haven't done anything yet. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What are we going to? You've done something as a high-profile recruit. You have created a value as a high-profile recruit. But
on that level.
On that level.
Right.
On that level. But until you produce here, okay, and Arch Manning is a prime example, and I understand Arch Manning's family is independently wealthy. I get that. But from word go, that family was like, you're not earning anything until you actually play. Because if you don't play and create value, then it's not earned. And I think that's where the coaches are like, listen, we're all for you earning name, image, and likeness. What we're not for is walking up and handing you a check for $200,000 to come sign here. And then what if a week into training camp you decide, well, I got the money, I'm not all that interested in playing football? And I can tell you, I know more, but I'm going to tell you one very, very, very high profile recruit in the last couple of classes that did that exact same thing.
He just quit football? Or went to another school?
Yeah, he went to another school, but at the school he was at, there was no motivation to play. There was talented, all right? But that's where I think the disconnect is. And what Nick Saban has proposed, and I think this is smart, is you have your revenue-producing sports, which is essentially football, men's basketball, and in some places, women's basketball, right? They're funding the livelihood of everyone, Olympic sport in the schools, okay? So if you want to truly pay the player, okay, because what we have to do when we talk about this, and we talk about name, image, and likeness, is we have to acknowledge the value of a scholarship. See, there are a lot of people out there that are quick to diminish the value of scholarship. And my response to that is, if we're investing $100,000, $120,000 in a player under scholarship, okay, and with that comes elite healthcare, elite strength and conditioning instruction, elite nutritionists, elite athletic training, right? Academic
elite travel.
There are so many gear, meals, food, all of that stuff.
Right.
The moment you become an employee, or the moment you decide to unionize, guess what? All that's getting taxed.
Yeah.
Have you guys thought that one through? So you got to think about those things as a player. So what Nick Saban is saying is, instead of unionizing, let's go ahead and treat them like they're employees, and we'll do a revenue distribution on a scale based off of what your market value is, and are you in a revenue producing sport versus a non-revenue producing sport. And then individually let everybody go out on the open free market and make their own name, image, and likeness deal. You got your base revenue distribution, right? Nobody's walking around with, no shoes on their feet. And you have the opportunity to go earn on your own, all right? Now, that is what it likely is going to morph into, or should turn into, because that actually makes some sense for everybody involved. But what we're doing now in recruiting is never what this was meant to be. And you know what? In this particular window, if somebody's willing to do it, by all means, I get it. But understand, eventually the accountability is going to be on you to perform and earn what they paid you. Not to just be a high-profile recruit. Hell, everybody loves to get recruited. I love to get recruited. You guys love to get recruited.
For sure.
But who actually loves to play the game of football and is willing to do what it takes to earn that money they paid you to come to their school to play football for?
Good point.
Yeah.
Q, if you got a 4 or 5 star running back in your household eating up all of your cheese snacks and your sandwiches, and you're in Houston, are you bringing up Steve Sarkisian sitting right here? Are you bringing up NIL?
Well, again, it goes back to the parentals, right? Because a lot of, they're behind, what the kid is going to be focusing on as well. You hear these stories. I apologize, the kid's name, it slipped my mind, but the recruit recently that signed with the Gators, that hasn't played a snap and bought his mom a house. So imagine how parents all across the country with their kids with talent, how they're looking at that particular situation. They're looking at the TV like, well, hell, that needs to be us.
So we created the beast.
We 100%. And what it is now, it's not where really there is no student athlete. These are hired mercenaries now. These are just hired mercs. That's what we're essentially what we're looking at. So and I agree so much. Now I know, that some people are looking, at Saban in particular, like, well, hey, the fact that this is leveling the playing field, which in some cases, I can agree with that. Because it's a little bit different maybe with that particular program when you're not holding all the horses. But 100% right. You have to put some type of parameters because, again, it is the Wild West. And, I mean, you have kids, again, still in high school. Like, I'm down here in the hotbed, man. You got kids, Duncanville, North Shore, Katy, perennial powerhouses, and you got juniors and seniors, driving nicer cars than their parents.
Grown men,
Yeah.
yeah.
17 years old.
Hey, Q, I just saw one of those comments come up about Saban and his salary. Can we stop attacking Saban for the salary that he's earned over the course of 50 years?
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. And I'm gonna just lay out the numbers here. So, first off, in any other profession, so Nick Saban's essentially been the head coach 4 times over the span of 50 years.
Right.
Okay. In any other profession, you are going to probably have double to 3 times that amount of jobs in your 50-year working career. So don't be talking about jumping here and this and that, blah, blah, blah. You're going to jump. You're going to make moves. You're going to make salary moves. You're going to make job moves, improvement moves. Right. But the other thing, too, is Saban earned that money. And he earned it through consistent, sustainable results of winning, putting players into the NFL, graduating players, and helping to mold and make them better people. Quit trying to compare a 19-year-old kid to a full-blown adult who's earned a college degree, had to earn a master's degree because that's what you go when you become a GA, you get to grad school. Mm-hmm. Went and got jobs, put food on the table, raised kids, paid bills. We keep attacking him. He's not saying that kids shouldn't be able to earn. He's never once said it. And I don't understand why we keep acting like the coaches are so against us. They're not. They're against the lack of structure. We should all be a lack of structure. And do you want to know why? Because structure dictates behavior.
Yeah.
If you have no structure, you have lawless behavior. If you have no structure, you have chaos. If you have structure and discipline and a plan and a blueprint, okay, people will conform and they'll march in the same direction. You're going to have a winning product, right? Right now, that's not what college football is turning into.
Yeah.
Good point right there. And, and then Ernest Munoz, what's going on, Munoz family in San Antonio? He says the assistant coaches could be paid better.
They are, depending upon where they're at.
Right.
Which school? Yeah, which school? Yeah, ask Chip Kelly.
Right.
All right, you guys. So we're rocking and rolling. We're almost done with the show. Amazing content. Content. And when you have somebody that's so ingrained in what you guys want to learn about, sometimes we just got to let them go. We got to let them have the show. And tonight, we get to do the lightning round with this gentleman. So I am so excited for the lightning round. This is one of our favorite portions of the show. And we are elated, you guys, to bring on Tom and have him go through the lightning round. So for those that are joining us for the first time, whether live or recorded, this is our version of word association. Our guest, in tonight's case, Tom Luginbill, has 60 seconds to go through a little gauntlet of either or, of what is your favorite. So he's going to give us the first thing that comes to his mind when I throw out some questions to him, you guys. Right. And he has 60 seconds to do it. And Tom, we don't just do this for fun. We actually have a little wager on it. So if so if you get to 17, we actually had somebody get to 17 in 60 seconds, you get a free dinner on the Locker Room Show. Free dinner for you and your beautiful wife on the Locker Room Show, okay? So 60 seconds, I'm going to cue it up. and he's at 0, so everybody knows I'm not cheating him. And now this isn't going to be an ESPN corporate dinner. This is going to be a locker room dinner, but it's going to be a good dinner if you win it. So here's one last tidbit. You get 1 for tech delay. So even if you get to 16, you're in the mix. You're in the mix, okay? So, all right. We're going to put Tom through the lightning round. So you guys, he's going to give us the first thing that comes to his head.
He's a quarterback. 2-minute drill, no problem.
So I'm a little scared. All right. Number 1. First thing that comes to your head, Tom. Number 1. Palomar JC. Go.
National championship.
Nick Saban.
Discipline.
The Pac-12.
Dead.
Shador Sanders.
Got his head knocked off.
Chicken Caesar or Steak Caesar?
Steak Caesar.
Best player you ever played against?
Derek Brooks.
Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence.
Herm Edwards.
Wait,
Herm
Stop
Edwards. We'll pause. You got me. All right.
That's a good one. He's a quarterback. Hey, Court, he's a kid. He's still managing that clock,
we'll give
right?
it to him.
That's
we'll
a
give
good
it to him.
Tom.
He's looking at the clock. He's looking at the 24 seconds. So we'll add 10 seconds. All right. You got it. All right.
Look, Michael Bishop, like, damn, why didn't I do that?
Michael Bishop was mad at me. All right. So next question. He's got 10 seconds extra, you guys. All right, and he's at 45. So we're at 35.
Here we go.
All right. Next question. Herm Edwards.
You play to win the game.
Favorite soup?
Tomato.
Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan.
Favorite football movie? 10 seconds.
Everybody's All-American.
Ride a motorcycle or ride a bull?
Bull.
Drake May or Jaden Daniels?
Jaden Daniels.
Time, and we'll give him that one. One. So he was rolling.
That's interesting
right
on that last one. We might have to double back with that.
We always revisit.
So
we always revisit.
Yeah.
We always revisit.
Yeah.
So let's add them up first. Let's add up Tom's total. Now keep in mind he was rolling right there, and then he did the quarterback on me. So we had to pump him up. We had to get the time back.
I cannot be responsible for your internet connection.
Right.
There you go. Sounds like somebody who got good Wi-Fi from ESPN. So with that being said, you guys, he's got 16. Can get him in the mix. He's still getting 1 for tech delay. So let's add them up. So Palomar JC was 1. We'll revisit. We've got Nick Saban 2. We've got the Pac-12 3. We've got Shador Sanders 4. We've got Steak Caesar 5. We've got best you've ever played against. We'll revisit 6. We've got Deshaun or Trevor 7. We've got number 8, Herm Edwards. We've got number 9. We're going tomato soup. We've got 10. We're going Kyle Shanahan. Number 11. We're going football movie. 12 is did you say riding a motorcycle or bull?
He said
bull.
Bull. Okay, riding a bull for 12. 13 with Jaden Daniels, and with the tech delay, 14. So he gets very, very good right there. And let's revisit.
We got to.
Palomar JC, that's his former junior college. He won a national championship there. Very, very well-known JC. In California, Nick Saban, he says discipline. Pac-12, unfortunately, is dead. The conference your dad coached in. He said Shador got his head knocked off. Hopefully not this year. He's going with the Steak Caesar. Now let's revisit this one. Best player ever that you played against. You played against some great players. What made Derek Brooks the guy?
That defense on that 1994 Florida State team, which was coming off the 93 national championship, all of those players were back, and they were a year older. And I threw Derek Brooks an interception, and he wore number 10 at Florida State, right between the 1 and the 0. I can remember, like, vividly, I couldn't even see him. He was moving so fast. Like, the whole entire day. Like, not just, like, on that play, but, like, he looked like a human blur, right? And it was just like – and that – I mean, listen, that thing had Devin Bush on it, Derek Alexander.
There were some DBs,
yeah. Clifton Abraham, Corey Fuller. Like,
was Marvin Jones?
Marvin Jones was
right before
me. He's actually before or after me. I don't know. I'm not that old. Damn.
Was Terrell Buckley on that squad?
Derek was Buckley was before me. He's older than me. But I got to know T-Buck last year when he was coaching in Orlando in the XFL. He's such a good dude. Yeah. He's a great dude.
Yeah, he is.
Wow, no, that whole team was amazing.
Just
and then
loaded.
You look over at the sideline, you're seeing the legendary Bobby Bowden. So that was amazing. You guys, we're on to our last portion of the show, and I know you guys are thoroughly enjoying this. I see the comments, some of our people saying that this is perfect. So thank you, Tom, for joining us. But if you guys do have a question before we let Tom go, please put that in the comment section now. But Q, I know you had something for Tom.
Definitely. So I just want to know your thoughts on the future in regards to recruiting for these high school kids. It seems like it's becoming increasingly difficult scholarship-wise because of the portal. So as of where we are right now, if I'm a high school kid, that does have, talent enough to play on the next level, where do you see the future in regards to that? Where are we headed with this, man?
So the most important thing that I would say is cherish the value of a scholarship more now than ever, okay? Because they're not all being allotted to high school kids anymore. So I'm going to take you back to the very first recruiting cycle of the transfer portal. The transfer portal was kind of brand new. People didn't really know what to do with it, and the colleges weren't really dialed in yet on what it could be. But that being said, that particular cycle, and to give you some of the numbers, generally on average, there's about 2,700 kids nationwide that will sign an FBS letter of intent. That's not counting FCS. That's not counting Division II, Division III, NAIA. That's just Group of 5 and Power 5. That's 2,700 kids, the high school level. And then there was roughly on average, about 300 junior college players. The first year of the transfer portal, that 300 junior college players being signed moved down to 100 in one cycle.
Wow.
Dang.
So that's who got affected first. Then it kind of started trickling down, right?
Yeah.
So the guy that is let's say a top 500 player in the country, he's not being affected by the transfer portal. Okay, he's gonna have a spot.
Gotcha.
It's player 501 to 2,700 that have to be very
better get creative.
Yeah,
because they're the ones. If they have a scholarship offer, don't screw around, because that thing could go to a current college player in the blink of an eye.
Quick.
And that's the biggest thing is the impacted player that's not the high-profile player. Do
you think the kids and the parents have realized this yet?
They're starting to. They're starting to more so never. And oftentimes, and I don't think it's not right, and it should be framed more often. And this is true for name, image, and likeness. This is true for college football in general. But if you actually look at the numbers, the participation numbers, there's roughly 1.2 million high school football players in America. Okay, of that 1.2 million, only a little more than 6% will actually play college football, and that's at any level. That's including NAIA all the way up to Power 5. Okay?
Wow.
So that's a small number, like a really small number. So if you take that, and now we're going to move it to the NFL level, 0.4% of all players that play college football will actually play in the National Football League. 0.4%. So while everybody has this mindset that they're going to the league, the stark reality is You're probably not. And you have to have a plan for that. Doesn't mean that you can't have dreams. It doesn't mean that you don't work for that. It doesn't mean that that's not the ultimate goal. And you fight and scrap every day for that goal. But in going back a little bit to what Nick Saban was trying to get across to people is that if you don't have that, how do we get you to use that NIL money that you did earn to invest, to set yourself up, to have some money to start a family or to start a 401k or to start an IRA? Now, kids aren't thinking about that stuff. But what the coaches are saying is if you're going to be part of that 96 point or 99.6% that's not playing in the NFL, then
you better.
how do we prepare you for a great life? Right?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And that's fair. That's fair. And it's in service of the student athlete. And so to me, that part of it, you can battle and compete and you've got dreams to be an NFL player. The percentages don't weigh in your favor. It doesn't mean you can't have an incredibly succcessful life if you plan accordingly.
Gotcha.
I love it right there.
Now,
And
actually, Coach, I thought about another question too. It's kind of a two-part question. And actually, T, we were talking about this in regards to said as well. So my next question, or the other half of the question, was, what are your thoughts in regards to D1 universities in regards to the transfer portal? How are they going to survive without being able to retain their top recruits? Like T, we were saying, the Marshalls and the Akrons, right? The Toledo.
Lower level. So what we were talking about, Tom, is, and you mentioned it, I mean, you were sitting in a room with Marshall Faulk. We were saying that there's not going to be any more Marshall Faulks because if things stay the same, somebody's going to poach him.
Yeah. And, you know, and you really feel for those group of 5 and FCS level coaches, because those are the coaches that have a very keen eye for projecting what they think a player is going to be, because they're not getting the college-made guy. They're not getting the play right away guy.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden, these schools start investing and they're coaching these guys, and they got red shirts, and he gets 3 meals a day, and they got him in the weight room, and he was 6'2", 210 pounds coming out. Now he's 6'4", 240, and he's an All-American at North Dakota State, and
now he's headed to
gone.
Michigan. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What is that guy supposed to do? Like, what are those coaches supposed to do? And again, it's an unfortunate byproduct of the world that we're living in right now. And you know what? Good for those kids. But I'll say this, guys. You know, there's, like I mentioned, about 1.2 million players playing high school football. There's way more of the guys that we just described than there are Caleb Downs, or there are Bryce Young, or there is Justin Fields. Those guys are where, I'll give you a prime example. I do FCS playoff games, which are unbelievable games to do, because these kids are like, and we're talking to the South Dakota State coach during our production meeting, getting ready for the game, and he's talking about how Power 5 schools were coming in and offering NIL money to his guys.
Yeah.
At South Dakota State.
Yeah.
Right in front of their face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so how are you supposed to compete at the FCS level? You don't have a collective.
Yeah.
You don't have the ability to say, oh, they're going to offer you $200,000. Well, you know, best we can do is $175,000. No, actually, the best we can do is $1.75 and a Snickers bar.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's not. That's why everybody talks about, name, image, and likeness is going to level the playing field. No, it's not. It's going to further the gap, because there's only a select group of schools that can live in that market, and the rest of them can't. Like, God bless Lance Leipold at Kansas, Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. They've done an unbelievable job. They'll never have the resources Georgia has.
Yeah.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's right, but that's the world we've now entered into. The moment you decided that we were just going to open the floodgates and let money get thrown around all over the place. Because the money said, hey, the money's got to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it does. This is funny. Coach Paul said, Coach Wood, be careful. He's rambling wreck from Georgia Tech. He'll get the engineers glitching my computer and helping them out. Coach Foss had a good question on here. You've got you were at Georgia Tech for a while. Tell us about the UGA Georgia Tech rivalry. Is that the real deal in your eyes?
It is, but I would almost make the argument that Georgia and Auburn is a bigger rivalry because it's the oldest continuous rivalry in the South, right?
Okay,
That's
I didn't know that.
So I would almost and there's in-state blood there between the two institutions, but the two institutions, the two they're so dramatically different, within their infrastructure in terms of what their level of priority is,
what they're trying to do,
of that nature.
Right.
But yeah, I'll tell you. So I was a 4-year starter in college. I started every single game I was eligible to play, and we can get into this if you want to. But from a recruiting perspective, I wasn't recruited out of high school. I was an academic qualifier. I had to go to junior college because nobody recruited me. So I had to prove myself to get my Georgia Tech opportunity. And so it's interesting because a place like Georgia Tech is so academically driven, right? And the people and the community there and the staff and the team and the professor, everybody's way smarter than I am, right? And so you're just trying to keep up, right? But it was also really, really cool because if you're a fan of college football, a lot of people don't realize, Heisman coached there, Heisman Trophy, right?
Yeah,
He coached there. It is the single oldest original stadium structure in the history of college football. A lot of people don't know that, right?
Wow.
So there's some cool stuff there. So anyway, get to the playing Georgia Tech on Thanksgiving Day, my junior year, and when I was saying I started every game, I have never played so bad in a game as I did in that game. And for the first time in my career, I got benched. And I deserved it. I earned that benching. I was so bad, and I got benched after I threw Will Muschamp on interception, on an out route that I was late on. And what do they always say? Don't throw late to the sideline and don't throw late over the middle of the field.
Thanks.
And so I threw Will Muschamp an interception on national TV, got benched after that. And every time I see Will now to this day, he always he walks up to me and he goes like this.
Oh, that's dirty.
Guys, don't forget.
Lousy. That's so lousy.
That's funny.
Man.
Right there. No, this is amazing, Tom, and we don't want to keep you. Did you have time? Somebody asked one last question. Did you have time for one last one?
Yeah, I ain't going anywhere. Where am I going?
Okay. You say your wife said stay busy, huh?
She's on the sofa.
So we got Love the Game 247. Thanks for joining us. He says, what are your thoughts when high school coaches aren't doing their job helping athletes navigate the recruiting process? Do you believe that should be a part of the high school coach's job, or you think it's all on the parents and the kids, Tom?
No, it should absolutely be a part of the high school coach's job. But, and this is a big but, a high school coach cannot get your kid a scholarship. A high school coach can work extremely hard. They can be a huge advocate. They can promote their kids. They can work actively. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the university to make the decision. Does that coach want to take that kid, or do they not want to take that kid? And that can be a hard pill for some parents to swallow. Yeah. But I'm absolutely against any high school coach that is not actively working to elevate their kids to have the opportunity to play this great game, which very few people get to play, And I'll be honest with you, I don't run across a lot of high school coaches that don't actively help their kids, but they've got the parents also have got to understand that the high school coach can take it so far. Ultimately, the head coach and the position coach and the coordinator in that university is going to make the decision. What I would add and what I would tell you to do, we are in an era because of technology, because of social media, where if you're willing to be proactive, you can do more for yourself in recruiting through the click of a button if you're just willing to put in a little bit of time. You can go on the internet, you can get every phone number, every email, every direct message, every social media handle for every coach, recruiting coordinator, head coach, coordinator, position coach, recruiting coordinator, director of player personnel of every school in America by clicking a button on the internet. You can put together a nice little short bio of your transcripts, your GPA, your test score, what have you done, what's your little resume, you've got your little huddle link.
Yep.
You can help yourself. Be proactive. It's not like it was
with the VCR and the highlight tapes.
Yeah, the VCR and the VHS.
I looked like I was drop shipping.
Right.
I was bringing packages.
Right.
Bro. And I remember being in high school. And it was spring football, and the college coaches would come in, and they'd come in with these boxes and bags of VHS tapes that they wanted the high school coach to record the games on so they could take those games and go back, and then they could do like all of their own cut-ups. Now, a coach, a player, if he has an ounce of care about the game or wanting to play at the next level, they're also kids these days are so social media savvy. They could do that. They could boom and send it out to 30 schools.
That's
30
right.
schools and that.
Like that. They probably got AI doing it for
Hey,
them.
I'm telling
you, right?
Lucky, back in the day, it was rough, man. I see guys, man, VHS, writing handwritten letters like someone just said, send it off to the offices, man. You like, damn, I got 30 more.
I remember, do you guys remember the beta tapes?
Yeah.
So beta was like they were the short little guys, and the VHS were the long ones. But the beta tapes were like crystal clear. Like they were HD before HD, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I remember when I got into, I was in NFL Europe. I was working in personnel back in 1995, 96. And we would watch NFL preseason film. And I'm not kidding, like the end zone cut up, we could like read the name on the back of a jersey. Like it was revolutionary. But like the beta machine was this big, huge, gigantic box. Like it was this big monstrosity, and you had, if you guys remember, you had the little dial where you could like go fast and slow, fast and slow, right?
Yeah.
And that thing, like that was the bump. When I started, when I was 19 years ago, when we started this at ESPN, and I was hired to do this, and I'm not joking, me and one other guy physically cold called over 1,500 high school coaches across the country to get them to mail us a DVD of their players.
Wow.
And now look where we are now. So you can help yourself more so than ever before.
Good point.
There you go, kids. So hey, Tom believes that coach should be helping you out, but don't just wait for coach. You should be doing more than coach, definitely. And a lot of you athletes are with us, and obviously we're making a bunch of calls. We're going to let you go, Tom, but I couldn't let you go without asking you, because you're so ingrained in recruiting for all of these years. Give us one guy that you maybe missed on, maybe not missed, but you didn't think he was going to be what he is today.
Like a Cooper Cup,
where you're like,
Cooper Cup, everybody is like Cooper Cup. Are you kidding me?
But maybe one that was on your list, but you were like,
I'll give you an interesting one. And to this day, I have taken a ton of public heat on this one. All right.
Okay.
And it wasn't that we missed ranking him, but when Derrick Henry was coming out of high school, okay, and I think I remember this correctly. You might have to fact check me. I think we had him as the number 9 overall player in the country. So he was a top 10 overall player, regardless of position. So
Right.
we didn't miss Rankin.
No, you didn't miss him.
But I looked at him and I watched him and I watched him and I watched him. And I'm like, there's no way this guy can play tailback.
At Alabama.
He was so big.
Big. Right. Right.
He was so straight lined. And it took him a while to like get going. Like he wasn't a sudden darter.
Like Tyreek, yeah.
Yes,
One plant and go.
He had to get downhill, have a clear line of sight.
Mhm.
Then when he got going, obviously it was a problem.
Watch out.
But
yeah.
when you looked at him, you were like, I don't know how this guy. I don't know how
He's going to switch positions or something.
Exactly. So what we did, we put him in the athlete category.
Mhm.
Because I didn't want to say he absolutely. Remember what I said earlier? Don't
Mhm.
use
Smart.
definitives.
Smart.
Right.
Didn't want to say that he couldn't play running back.
Mhm.
But I'm looking at him and I'm like, and I'm seeing an outside linebacker defensive end that's going to be hell on wheels.
Right.
And he's long, big, and I'm like, oh, dude, somebody's going to take this cat. They're going to put him on. They're going to put him on defense.
The
I'll
edge.
tell you a quick story about it. You guys remember Terrell Pryor?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm at SC one year. Sark's there. Pete Carroll's still there.
Okay.
And they're a national recruiter, and their rule was we're going to be a national recruiter if we think somebody's going to be a first-round draft choice. If we don't think they're going to be a first-rounder, we'll stay on the West Coast.
Okay.
And you know what Pete Carroll wanted to play Terrell Pryor at?
Tight end.
Middle
Defensive
linebacker.
end.
Really?
Defensive end.
Yeah.
He thought he'd be a first round defensive end.
6'6", 240. He couldn't play quarterback. That one we were right on. We had him at athlete.
Yeah.
But they thought he was going to be. They thought he could have been like a terror off the edge, right? And so, yeah, I would probably say it was Derrick Henry because I did not believe I'll be the first one to say it. I was like, I'm looking at this guy, and the other thing too, guys, there's nobody to compare him to. Like it wasn't like you could sit there and say, oh, this guy's like so and so. This guy's like so and so. There was no so and so.
Yeah.
Right?
Because maybe Eddie George, maybe
Eddie George, but Derek's even taller than Eddie.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's true. Yeah,
and that's the thing.
that's
like
a big dude, man.
You look at him, dude, and it's like, and I'm saying, dude, he looked like this in high school.
Yeah,
Right? And like he wasn't quite as tall. He was bigger than Jadeveon Clowney.
Oh, that's it.
Bigger this way. He was about this much shorter,
Wow.
but he was bigger than
That's
Jadeveon Clowney.
insane.
So when you think all freaky team that you've seen in high school, those two come to mind right away.
Oh, yeah, those two. Leonard
Jadeveon
Fournette
was so hyped
Leonard
up.
Fournette was a freak.
Just
AJ
a
Green,
man.
Julio Jones, Percy Harvin.
Percy,
Percy
Percy.
Harvin.
There were some guys. I'll tell you the guy that is the freak of freaks right now is that receiver at SC, Zachariah Branch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He may have been. I always think Caleb Williams when I sit back and watch college football, as far as just making it look easy.
He's the best player on USC's team.
Yeah.
Zachariah Branch makes it look easy, super young.
Yeah, man. He reminds me.
It looked easy out of the gates.
He reminds me of Ted Ginn. Like he has that type of speed.
Yeah, I think he's got much better ball skills in hand
yeah.
than Ted Ginn.
Yeah.
Teddy Ginn never consistently caught the football well.
Right.
This
But he
guy
was a
is like-
corner, though. See, people forgot that.
I know. He was a corner.
Yeah,
and he
see,
should have stayed at corner.
and he should have
stayed at corner.
Damn it, Tom, you're the first guy I've ever talked to that's ever said that. And people didn't know because, see, the backstory was because I had a good relationship with Coach Stoops there, recruited me really hard out of high school. But Ted Ginn was supposed to be Terrence Newman's replacement at corner at K-State.
Yeah.
And he would start,
I never knew that.
he returned a couple of kicks at the Army game. And then
That changed
somehow some kind of way they started putting the ball in his hand. But he was supposed to be he was a corner, a great corner. So I can agree he should have stayed there, but he has Zachariah Branch has that type of electrifying speed, dude.
I'll I'll tell you one thing, guys, and if there's any people who have a young skill player, I could take my iPad case right here, see that?
Mm-hmm.
And I could throw this outside in my driveway and hit a wide receiver. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are growing on trees.
Yes.
Corners ain't standing on every street corner. If you have
Especially with
kid
hands.
with ball skills and height, put them at corner. Because that's the money position. Everybody wants them, and nobody can find them.
These are
It
facts.
is so hard to find them.
Wow.
These are facts.
Okay.
You heard it live.
All right,
here,
you
folks.
guys. So we're going to drop the mic right there. And obviously, we went over our time, but I don't think you care. I don't care. Q don't
I
care.
don't care.
Because
I definitely don't care.
Tom don't care because we got a lot of sauce tonight. You guys definitely need to run this one back. Share it with your teammates. Share it with your friends. Share it with your dog, your coach who needs to help you with recruiting. And we all need to thank Tom sincerely from the bottom of our heart. He's about to hit a plane, you guys, to go. And maybe he may be watching some of you guys. So, Tom, where's the best place for maybe people to reach out to you?
Well, you can hit me on social media, obviously TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Obviously, I have a bit of a unique last name, so I do have a blue check mark. So there's not too many people trying to impersonate me, hopefully. But yeah, you can follow me on social media, and then well, like I was telling you guys earlier, one of the things I want to do on social media is I'm trying to get younger players kind of recognized, get them out there, get them. Get to people who may not know of them yet, but will know of them. Anyway, you can catch me on social, and you can catch me on. Well, you're going to catch me on the UFL here in a couple of weeks.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
There you go. Tom don't stop. He don't stop.
Ever, right.
He's doing college, high school, UFL. So you guys catch him on the TV near you. Some of you guys may see him on the camp circuit. Coach Foss says an amazing show. Top 5 all time. We love you, Coach. Munoz family in San Antonio said they got a big DB coming up. So yeah, we know Marco's coming. So hey, Tom. We appreciate you. We love you. We're going to be watching you, UFL, and keep up the great work.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate spending the time. And let's do it again at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely,
yes, indeed. So, hey, you guys, there is the great Tom Luginbill. Once again, this is somebody that has not just done the ESPN analyst thing, where you guys, many of you know him. He has also been a football player, a son of a football coach, and Q. He gave us some great content today.
Hey, but that's a lot of sauce, man. But like you said, he lives it and breathes it, man. It's a culture, man. It really is. It really is, man. And we love being in it. But you got to run this one back. Anybody that's not seeing this live, send it to your family and friends. But this it's early already, Coach. But hey, this might be the show of the year. I'm calling it, man. It might be.
I mean,
it's gonna be top 5.
We got some great ones, but Coach Foss said it right there. Top 5. When you think about who we serve, because we're all about serving. When you think about who we serve, I mean, he laid it out for you guys, and he kept it candid. He kept it real. He gave you some stories from back when. We talked to NIL, we talked recruiting, so there wasn't much we didn't cover, Q.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man, we touched on everything, man. Definitely at some point got to have him back, but we still got a long list of awesome guests, man, that we going to bring in, man. So it's early. I mean, we just
early, baby.
It's Q1.
It's only March.
It's Q1. We didn't hit the summertime yet. So, man, y'all keep tuning in. We going to keep bringing it. Y'all know where to find the same time, same channel, man, but this is a hell of a show.
Definitely. And the great Jimmy says he's got Ronnie first and then Tom right after that. We love you. You know that, Jimmy. And Jimmy. Tell everybody you know about it. If you guys have not already liked and subscribed, if you have not shared the Before You Go Pro channel with the people you love, especially the football people, then please do. We do this for free. We put a lot of time and effort into it. We're trying to bring you the best of the best in the football industry. So if you guys do, want to continue to ride with us, please also share and with your friends and your family. But that is it for tonight. Another great show. Once again, run this one back. We'll definitely clip up some excerpts, some little pieces from the show to share with you guys. And then we're gonna see you next week because we're getting closer to the draft queue. And what you thinking? Should the Bears go quarterback or should they stick with Fields?
Man, I tell you what, I think they're gonna keep Fields, man. If the Bears are smart, they go get Marv and call it a day. But like I said, it's gonna be a quarterback heavy first round. So I'm real interested to see how everybody's going, where everybody's gonna fall. I know I've heard a lot going on in regards to Bo Nix and other guys that have helped themselves in the Senior Bowl. But we'll see, man. A lot goes on in that war room, man. And sometimes people have a plan going in, and end up having to call an audible. You know how that goes. So we'll definitely see. But it's around the corner though.
Maybe your favorite team is going to get a quarterback, so we shall see. And then it was interesting to hear Tom say, hey, the realest in the game right now is Zachariah.
Hey, man, the kid is electrifying, man. I'd say between him and Travis, man. Between him and Travis, are the two most. But the thing that I think that Colorado has to be mindful of, and Coach Prime, I know we said that, is Travis, we know that he can do it all, but he's gonna have to start honing in on where he's gonna play in the league and start perfecting his craft, right? So we need to see that out of him this season. Is really stay healthy first and foremost, and really pick a side of the ball and really start sharpening skills on one side of the ball and playing on the other side of the ball more sparingly. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, we'll see how that unfolds. I mean, we know we're going to get TV viewership out of the Colorado Buffs this year. It's going to be a soap opera as it was last year. But and here's something that I thought of, and we got to do some content on this, man. But so if I see somebody doing this, we know where you got it from. But what about this? What's your thoughts on, does Shador become the first ever, think about this, little contrarian viewpoint. Does Shador become the first ever D1 quarterback to go, and not D1 FCS, FBS,
right? To
go first round quarterback,
right,
and never play in a bowl game? Because I think they go to a bowl game, but I don't think it's big enough to make him turn his head if he's going top 5, top 10. You know how these quarterbacks roll.
Yeah.
If we play Little Bowl, no. So does he become the first quarterback ever, FBS quarterback, Power 5 quarterback, to be a first round pick and never play in a college bowl game?
Well, here's the kicker. The guru's got to throw a wrinkle in that question. Here's the wrinkle. Can the new freshman pup left tackle that this making all this NIL money,
Jordan Seaton,
can he hold up and keep him upright enough to put the numbers up to get there?
Do you think he's going to be playing right away?
He's going to have to.
Too much hype.
You better check out the kid's social media page with all those Louis Vuitton and Gucci and designer sneakers.
He better pay off something.
Out there, he's out there right away. But that's the thing about it. Just like Tom was saying, it's that transition. You going from a 4 or 5 star kid on the high school level. Now you got 4 and 5 star kids that have been they've been playing on that level for a year or two. Those DNs, and you got to keep Shador upright, and all the pressure's on you because he's a left tackle, so all the pressure's on him. So you have to think, as far as Shador, a lot of his success is going to fall right on the shoulders of that young pup. Think about that for a minute. A lot of Shador's success is going to fall squarely on the shoulders of an 18-year-old pup. Think about
it. It's interesting. I mean,
that's a lot of smoke, boy.
The only picture he's got on his IG is him protecting Shador. That's
Hey,
his only job.
that is
I'm sitting right next to my quarterback. Security.
Hey, I get it. We'll see shortly, but think about it. Just think about that, coach. That's a lot of smoke, boy. That's a lot of smoke to fall on that kid's shoulders.
The best rush in on every team.
Every single team. And your only job is to keep Shador upright so he can put these numbers up so he can go top 5, man. So we'll see shortly.
All right.
We'll see.
You guys
shortly.
got it right there.
You see what Coach Paul said? Yes, it is, Coach. Yeah, I'm telling you. And I'm not. Hey, I wish the kid the best of luck. But again, it goes back to these higher mercs, man. If you want somebody to pay you top dollar, okay, now you're gonna have to produce. And a lot of these kids aren't gonna be able to do it. But they want the money. So we'll see. We will see in a hot minute because the season will be here just like that.
Just like that.
Quicker.
We are out of here, you guys. So we love you. Have an amazing weekend. We'll be back next week. Keep in mind, this is the off season. So we're bringing in all our heavy hitters, all of our big dogs. Thank you guys for riding with us tonight. And Jimmy says he better get a gas mask.
I'm trying to tell you.
the smoke is coming in the fall.
Yes, it is.
All right, you guys. We love you. Have a good one. See you at the